Hi second graders, this is Mrs. Shook with your grade 2 skills. Today is unit 1, lesson 1. Let's get started. Our learning goals for today. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to read and say the following review letter sounds. A, I, P, B, and T. You will be able to read and spell one-syllable words with A and I letter sounds. You will be able to read the given text that we're going to work on together, as well as to respond to text-based questions, which are questions about the story that you will answer. Our first practice for today. In front of you on the screen, you will see a green card with a letter on the front. This letter is a vowel. It's green because when you say letter sounds that are vowels, your mouth lets the air go. Just like a green light means go, the air is going to go out of your mouth. So keep that in mind when you're saying your vowel sounds. Now, what letter is this right here? That's right, letter A. The word they gave us is hat. And the word hat, you hear the A sound. In English, the letter A stands for the A sounds. Now, in the middle of the card, you see this long green bar. That's the power bar. On these cards, it will show us how common or uncommon that spelling is for that letter sound. Now, this bar goes all the way across the card. That shows us that this is a very common, in fact, the only spelling for the sound A. So on our chart, we'll add our new card for the A sound. So the only spelling for A is the letter A. Our next card, what letter do you see here? Good, letter I. Our word is it. In the word it, the letter I says I. And if you look at this power bar, that's a very, very common spelling, although not the only one, but a very common spelling for the sound I is the letter I. So we'll add that to our chart as well. So if you hear the sound I in a word, most of the time it will be spelled with the letter I. Okay, now it's time for you to pull out your individual code chart and turn to page 7. If you don't have this, simply put it on a piece of paper. You can write it on your own. You will also need a green marker or crayon, something green. Okay, at the top of the page, you will see the A sound and the I sound. You're going to use your green to trace around the outside rectangle shape of each sound to highlight them, that the spelling A is how you spell the A sound, and highlight the I as the most frequent spelling of the I sound. Keep track of this chart, and each time we learn and review a new letter sound, you're going to add to your chart, and then you'll have a nice resource to look at when you're reading. Okay, now we have a red card. This card is red because it's a consonant. And when you say a consonant, the sound stops, just like a red light. The vowels were green because the air goes out of your mouth. With a red card, the air stops. This letter is what? Good, it's a letter P. Our word is pot, like you might have a plant in a pot. Or you might cook soup in a pot. In that word, the letter P says P. And based on our power bar, we can see that the spelling of one single P is a very common way to spell the P sound. Just like P, popcorn, P. So we will add that to our chart. Our next letter sound is spelled with the letter B, bat. The sound is B. A very common way to spell the sound B is with a single letter B. Go ahead and try B. Good job. As a quick review, we have done a and I, which are our two vowel sounds, and then we have done p and b so far as our consonant sounds. Let's add the b to our chart. Okay, now we have letter T. Our word is top. Once again, this is a very frequent spelling. You'll see it a lot. For the T sound, you will use a letter T. T. Add that to our chart. And our next letter, D. In the word dot, you hear a D. The letter D, a single letter D, is a very common spelling for the D sound. So we'll add that to our chart. Okay, and once again, in your individual code chart, and again, if you don't have this, simply write it out on a piece of paper. On page 1, you'll see the letters you need. So this time, use a red marker or crayon, whatever you have handy, and outline the sounds and the spellings that we did today. So for the sound P, we went over the single P as a spelling. For the sound B, we went over a single B as a spelling. For the sound T, we reviewed the single T. And for the sound D, dot, we reviewed the single D. So again, P, B, B, T, T, and D, D. All right. Now I want to write a word. In order to write this word, I have to know my letter sounds, and we're going to use sounds that we practiced today. The word I want to write is at. Like, I want to be at the beach. At. So, to write it, I have to listen to the sounds. A and T. What letters did we practice today that will give us the A and T? So I know that to make the A sound, I need an A. And T. I know that the most common spelling for T is a single T. At. 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 Now you try sounding it out. At. At. Good job. Now, I want to make a new word, and you can do that by taking away, changing, or adding one letter at a time. So, if I take away the T and I add a D, now let's sound out our word. Now we have add. Like you might see an ad, which is short for advertisement in the newspaper. Ad. Let's add a letter D to the beginning. Let's sound it out. D, a, d. Dad. Very good. Now if I take the beginning letter D off and I add the letter P, let's sound it out. P, a, d. Pad. Very good. We're going to take away that P and add a T. Now make sure as I'm sounding out the words, you're trying to. T, a, d. Tad. Very good. Okay, once again, taking off the T and adding a B. B. This one's the B. This one's the D. B. A, d. Bad. Bad. Very good. Okay, let's take away the D this time, so we still have the B, A. And we are adding a T. All right. B, A, T. Bat. like a baseball bat or Halloween bat. Bat. All right. Now for our next word, I want to spell the word it. It. I hear I and I hear t when I think of the word it. So I know that the letter I is a spelling for I and the letter T is the spelling for t. So I have I and t. It. All right. Let's add the letter B in the beginning. So now we have b, I, t. Sound it out with me. B, I, t. Bit. Like she bit the sandwich. Taking off the B, we're going to add in a P. Let's sound it out. P, I, t. It. Pit. Good job. Now we're taking away the I and adding in an A. P, at. Pat. Pat. Taking away the P again and adding in a B. We saw this word last time. B, at. Bat. And taking off the T and adding in a D, b-a-d, bad. Very good. Okay, for this part, you're going to need your notebook or a piece of paper and your individual code chart that we already filled out. I'm going to say a word and you are going to write that word down based on what you hear. Again, you can use your code chart to help you remember what letters make the sound that you hear. So, once you have those materials ready, I will say the word. Okay, once you're ready, the word you're going to write is bad. When the dog made a mess on the floor, we said he was bad. Bad. You're going to go ahead and write that either in your notebook or on a plain piece of paper. And again, you can use your individual code chart to do so. And once you're all done, we are going to go over that word. Bad. B-A-D. B-A-D. How did you do? Hopefully you did awesome. All right, our next section in this lesson is the reading portion. We're going to read a story called Kate Visits Nan. Now, Nan is her grandmother. We all have different names for our grandparents, and grandmas might be called Grandma, Nan, Nan, all kinds of things. But in this story, Kate calls her grandmother Nan. So when you hear Nan, that's her grandma. The purpose for reading today is to find out what Kate will do when she visits her grandmother. And this is the story we're going to read. The two vocabulary words that they have highlighted in this story, which are in bold letters, first is cabin. A cabin is a small house built in a simple or rough way. If you go camping or maybe you visit someone, they might have a cabin. And an offer. An offer is an idea or an item that you present to be accepted or refused. So in the story it says, he made us an offer. So he's giving them an idea of something they can either do or not do. All right, now let's read. I'm going to keep reading, but at times I will point to the screen, point to you, and that's when you guys should try to join in reading with me. Of course, you can read the whole thing, but when I point to you, try to read those sections. I'm Kate Skipper, and last summer, when I was 9, my mom and dad took me to visit my Nan. Nan is my mom's mom. She is an artist, and she has a cabin out in the West. At the start of my visit with Nan, I was sad. It seemed like it would be a dull summer. But in the end, I had a lot of fun. I was sitting in the kitchen patting the cat that was sitting on my lap when Nan came in. I just spoke with Jake, she said. He made us an offer. What sort of offer? He asked if we would like to camp with him and Max. Who is Max? Max is a kid. He is 9, like you. Jake is his granddad. What would we do? I asked. Well, we would hike, look at rocks, cook lunch and dinner outside, look at the stars, and sleep in a tent. Gee, I said, that sounds like fun. When can we start? Tomorrow morning, Nan said. Okay, now that we've read the story of Kate Visits Nan, let's talk about it for a minute and then answer some questions. So Kate is the girl telling the story. She's the narrator. In the story, we met a couple of characters. There's Kate, and she's visiting her... Who is she visiting? That's right, her Nan, her grandmother. And Nan mentions 2 other characters. Do you remember who they are? Jake and his grandson, Max. Nan lives out west. She's in a cabin. It said that in the beginning it was kind of a dull summer, but by the end they had fun. They were given an offer to go camping with Max and Jake. So they're possibly going to hike, look at rocks, cook outside, sleep in a tent, look at the stars. So by the end of this story, Kate is a lot more excited than she was to begin. All right. On the screen, you'll see one of the questions about the story, Kate Visits Nan. We're going to work on one question together, and the rest of the questions you will finish on your own. So question number 1, what is the story about? Now, when we answer these questions, it's going to give you 3 choices. Make sure you read all of the choices before you pick. And if you're not sure, go back and look at the story and reread a part of it if you have to make sure you're getting the right answer. So what is the story about? A, the story is about Kate visiting mom and dad. B, the story is about Kate visiting her granddad. Or C, the story is about Kate visiting Nan. So let's think. Stories about Kate visiting mom and dad, her granddad, or Nan. Who does she visit? Well, the title of the story is called Kate Visits Nan, so that's a pretty good idea of the answer. But also, it says right here, my mom and dad took me to visit my Nan. So, she's not visiting her mom and dad, so it's not A. It doesn't talk about her granddad at all. But C, the story is about Kate visiting Nan. So let's choose option C. That is the correct answer. Okay. So the rest of the questions that you're going to answer will be found in the Google form for Skills Unit 1, Lesson 1. It will have the questions as well as the answers to pick from. You will select what answer you want for all of them, and when you get to the bottom, you'll submit it, and it'll go to your teacher. At the top of the screen, you'll also see more of the practice writing that we did earlier, where I say a word to you and you write it. When you do the writing part, or picking the word and writing it, please use your individual code chart to help you with the letter sounds if you need it. And when you're answering the questions about the story, make sure you look back at the story, because that's what it's there for. All right. So again, your individual code chart will help you with the writing. Type the words I say on the Google form. Use your code chart as needed. And here are the pages that we did today, in case you need another quick look. P, B, T, and D for P, B, T, and D, and A, and I. And here's our story one more time. It is 1.1 is the page. Okay, great work today. Good job, you guys.